Hey guys, I hope you had a great weekend this weekend. I know my weekend was a busy weekend. I had a great surprise on Saturday. I woke up and I was getting ready to go out, and by my front door in my apartment, I found this. Now, I cannot grow plants for the life of me. I guess this is an African violet, an African something with like the fuzzy leaves, and it is already, it's already kind of dying. It's a little wilted around here, and I don't know. I don't know how to deal with these things. So if you know what I need to do to keep this thing going, let me know, and I will do my best, because right now I don't know if it's getting too much light or if it's too wet, and it's not really sopping wet, it's just a little damp. And so, yeah, and I don't know, maybe it was a little wilty when I found it, but I am going to try my hardest to keep this thing alive. And if it lasts for more than 2 months, good for me, because none of my plants can or have ever lasted that long. And that's a bummer, because I like plants. I like it. It kind of makes the room feel fresh, and it gives some life into a room. But dead plants do not accomplish that at all. So if you know anything of how to take care of these crazy critters, let me know. But moving on, we had a party here on Saturday, and it was a small get-together, maybe, I don't know, 8, 9 people. And we were talking about it, and somebody there suggested that I talk about throwing parties on my next vlog. And so that's what I'm going to do now. And a lot of these lessons I've learned just from trial and error. But I think, ugh, but I think I have it pretty down pat. And bigger parties are are set up much differently than smaller parties. And so what I'm going to talk about is a bigger gathering. And this would be for friends who might not know each other. It's a great idea for, if you're doing a holiday party. I know I use this criteria when we do our annual Christmas party. And so people seem to have a great time, and people ask us how we do it, and I never tell, because to me it just seems like common sense. But now that I know it's not necessarily common sense, I'm going to let you know what works for me. So the first thing that I keep in mind is that a party is there for people to have fun and to meet people. And when you go to a party and you're by yourself, it's not quite, it just doesn't feel as comfortable. So whenever we invite one of our single friends, or a couple that's not married, we always put, Sandy and guest, or Mike and guest. That way they can bring a friend. It doesn't have to be, somebody they're in a relationship, but if they bring a friend with them, there's at least somebody to connect to, and it makes them feel so much more at ease. So that's the first thing we do. The second thing is the food we serve. We are very particular, and when I say particular, I don't mean expensive food, because I am not into the whole schmoozy, ritzy, put on airs kind of party. When I go to a party, I like to relax, I like to have fun, I like to have good conversation. And so the food that we serve, we have a couple criteria. And these are, we always make sure that there is protein available. And that can be chicken fingers, it can be deviled eggs, it can be nuts. We tend to go with like the chicken fingers, popcorn chicken kind of thing, because it's easy. And I'll talk a little bit more about why we do that rather than like chicken breast. So we always have protein. We always have something sweet. And we prefer like a baked good as well as a candy. And people like M&Ms, so we always have M&Ms. And then we may have cookies, or we may have cookies and brownies. Now, one thing about brownies, people don't gravitate toward brownies as much as cookies. And it's because a cookie, you can take a full cookie and walk around with it. You can take a half a cookie, whereas a brownie, you kind of have to have a plate with it. So don't do brownies, don't do cake, don't do pie. It's got to be something that you can hold in your hand, and that is not going to crumble all over. So protein, sweets, pastry, and candy. And then we also have something salty. So chips, and we always do our onion soup mix dip with our chips, and that's just a packet of onion soup mix and a thing of sour cream, and you mix it all together. Very simple, very good, very cheap. And then we just use the plain Ruffles chips, because if you use flavored chips, it doesn't quite go with the dip. So something salty. And then we have vegetables. So you have to have vegetables, because a lot of people, once you get enough sugar, you want something, something that's not going to be all sweet and everything. So vegetables, and then we serve ranch chips. So those are what we absolutely have. Now, one thing you have to keep in mind is you do not want to serve a dinner. You don't want to make it anything like that, because if you serve like a dinner thing rather than like a snacks, pick thing, then people are going to sit down and they're not going to move. They're just going to sit down and eat their dinner, and they won't mingle. And that's what you want. You want people to get up and mingle. You want them to socialize, and snack food will help that. That's why we don't do chicken breast. We do like popcorn chicken or something like that. The next rule that we have is we don't have a place for everyone to sit down. We have one chair for every 3 people. And what that does, again, is it keeps people moving. You don't want people just sitting down. You don't want them to be stationary, because what fun is that? If you have one chair for every 3 people, people will get up, they'll move, they'll stand, and it makes it so much easier. Also, you don't want to hold it in a big space. You want, I don't want to say a confined space, but our apartment here is probably, I don't know, it's a small apartment in downtown Seattle. It's a 1-bedroom. The bedroom is open into the main living area, but it's probably maybe, I don't know, 650 square feet, maybe 700. And for a Christmas party, we have 40 people. And everybody's like, how do you get 40 people? Well, people, they're not sitting down. They're mingling, they're moving around. So that's the next thing. Another criteria we have are drinks. Now, you don't have to have alcoholic drinks at all. If you do not have alcohol, have a variety of drinks. Have juice, have sodas. Some people like coffee. So those are some good things. If you're going to do sodas, a great idea is, well, first of all, make sure you have diet sodas as well as regular sodas. And you don't want to get anything really fancy. Stick with Sprite, Coke, maybe root beer, maybe Dr. Pepper, but just stay very basic. If you're going to go with sodas, you can get those syrups in the store, that you put in coffee. You can get vanilla, you can get chocolate, you can get raspberry, any sort of thing like that. And you can set up like a soda bar where you have your soft drinks and then you have the different syrups that people can put in. One thing about the syrup, though, is it sometimes will take away from the carbonation, but don't worry about that. It's a fantastic idea. Also, make sure you have juice. Cranberry juice is good. Pineapple juice is also really good. You can have sparkling juice, sparkling apple juice, and all these things are really inexpensive. You can go to Walmart, you can go to Costco, you can go to Safeway, but you want to keep the costs down. If you are going to have alcohol, again, keep it very basic. You don't have to spend a lot of money on alcohol. We choose to serve alcohol at our functions, and we make sure that we have vodka. You don't need to get the fancy vodka, because nobody is going to really, make a big deal on what kind of vodka you have. A little hint though, if you have a Brita water filter and you run the vodka through the Brita, do it 3 or 4 times, it'll take away a lot of the impurities, and it kind of like cleans it more, and it does taste better. So if you have a Brita, you can do that, and then, if you want to impress your friends, you can get a expensive thing of vodka, and once that's done, just pour the Brited vodka into the expensive bottle, and nobody will know the difference. A little hint that works for us. So vodka, also juice, cranberry juice, pineapple juice, and then if you want, some liqueurs, we have like peach schnapps, we have a butterscotch liqueur. One thing that we always make, one of our signature drinks, is a chocolate martini, and I'm not going to get into that now, but it's really fantastic. So if you're going to have a bunch of different liqueurs, you might want to have some cream. And what cream does is it takes away the bite of the alcohol, and you can mix cream with about anything, and it's fantastic.